Hello and welcome to our third session. It's such a pleasure again to be working with you. How's it been going for you? How was your week, if a week has gone by from our last session to this session? How have the release technique been working for you? Have you been able to use it? Have you been able to analyze or maybe see how you view birthing? Have you used the technique from the first session that I taught you if you've come in contact with somebody that gave you a negative birth story? Well, if you haven't been using those techniques, go ahead and use them, because remember, this course builds one on top of the other, and the more you use your techniques, the better it's going to be for you. This week we're going to be talking about relaxation. Oh, by the way, if you haven't understood some of the things that we talked about in other courses or previous courses, or this one today, or anyone, please call me or email me. Okay, today, like I said before, we're going to be talking about relaxation, how it works, how the mind relates to it, and why it is difficult for some people to be able to relax. I'm going to ask you a question that you already know the answer to. How important is it to relax at the birth? You already know that it's really important. It does two things. The first thing that it does is it lessens it widens the space rather in the birth canal, and it allows the baby to come through much easier. So the birth time is much shorter. Number two is it lessens pain. That's important to do, isn't it? A lot of the women that sign up for this course is because they want to lessen the pain. That's what most women are scared of. Well, let me ask you another question. How long does it typically take you to relax, or for a person in general to relax? Sometimes people say 15, 20 minutes, some people say 30 minutes. That's quite a bit of time, and you know the answer why. From our 7 secrets, your contractions will come one after the other, eventually 1 minute apart. You don't have the luxury of relaxing or taking more than 1 or 2 minutes to relax. So some people say to me, you know, Israel, it's difficult for me to relax. What do I do? I lie down, or I try to meditate, or I just try to relax, and I find that my mind is racing, right? It's difficult for people to relax. They say, I don't know if you'll be able to help me. I'll say, listen, you tell me what the problem is, I'll take care of the relaxation part, okay? Same thing here with you. I'm going to take care of the relaxation part and teach you. And today, I'm going to begin by teaching you that it's very important to relax the mind, not the body. Most people go about relaxation by just starting with the body. When you relax the body, your mind is still active, isn't it? Think about going to bed every nighttime. When you go to bed, you lie down at nighttime and your mind is still going, and you relax your body, but your mind is still going. Because you're thinking about something. You're always thinking about something, right? Can you shut off your mind? It's a little bit difficult to do, just to turn it off. What do you usually think about? Do you think about how great your day was and how wonderful it's going to be tomorrow? I don't think so. I think you think about the problems that have happened in the past, things that have happened before, and maybe stuff that you got to solve tomorrow. Do I have enough money for the bills? I have to be here and there on time. Will I be able to make it? Etc., etc. Right? This is what your mind is focusing on. If you're focusing on something that is negative, then what's going to happen to the body? It gets tense again. That's why you have to relax the mind, not the body. However, there is a contradiction. You can't relax your mind. That's a contradiction. But Israel, you just got through telling me that in order for me to have this fantastic birth, I have to relax my mind, not my body. Exactly correct. But you can't relax your mind. You can't actively relax your mind, but you can relax it passively. Now think about going to sleep. We'll refer to sleep because it's important. It's something that we can all relate to. When you go to sleep, you just lie down, you close your eyes, and you think about things that you did during the day, you think about stuff that you're going to do tomorrow, and little by little, your thoughts begin to drop off. By the time you realize it, you've fallen asleep and you're getting up. Now, here's something that I would like you to do. I want you to close your eyes, okay? I'll be watching you. And I want you to stop thinking. Just for 30 seconds, stop thinking. See if you can do it. 15 seconds. Maybe you can for 15 seconds, but you realize, you can open your eyes now, that it doesn't go very long without some thought creeping into the mind. Now, here's an interesting thing that I want you to do. Here's an interesting question that I'd like you to ask yourself. Close your eyes, and I'd like you to ask yourself this question. What is my next thought? What is my next thought? And see what happens. Your mind kind of freezes, doesn't it? Because it doesn't know what it's going to think of. Or what it's supposed to think of things just bombard our mind. You can open your eyes now if you'd like to. That's something that's kind of passive instead of active. We're looking for, searching for our next thought. So how this all ties together is that in order for you to have a good relaxation, a nice deep relaxation, it has to be a passive process. I realize that some people are very active, some people are controlling, some people don't want to lose control, and all these types of people come through my office, and they all tell me, Israel, I have a hard time relaxing because I don't want to lose control. When you go into this active process of relaxation, you don't lose control. Okay? We'll talk about it more as the course begins to unfold, but just know that it is a passive process, not an active process. So how do you reach a state of mental passivity? In other words, how do you reach a state where your mind is more passive? Well, the secret is that you have to focus on something that's positive, or you have to focus on something away from the negative. The more you focus on something that's positive, the more passive your mind becomes. Try this. Go ahead and close your eyes. I've asked you to close your eyes quite a bit of times this session. And I want you to mind just to drift, just to go to a beach, if you like the beach, if it's safe for you, or go to any safe place where you feel comfortable. Perhaps you'll feel the warmth of the sun. Perhaps you'll feel a breeze playing in your hair. Maybe you're with your loved ones. You're doing something that you really enjoy. Notice what the body is doing. Notice what the mind is doing. Notice the way you feel also. That's important. Okay, go ahead and open your eyes. The more you focus on the sound of my voice and the more you focus on what it is that you were thinking of, the more passive your mind becomes. Now there's another way that we can get the mind to get passive. If we focus on something or anything that's not negative, okay? I want you to do this exercise after I've shown you how to do it. What I'll do is I'll do it here with you, and you'll pause and then you'll come back to me. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to take your right or left hand, doesn't matter which one, index and middle finger, and you're going to tap them alternatively like this. And you're just going to stare at your fingers as they're tapping, and I want you to notice what happens to your mind and what happens to your thoughts. Okay, go ahead and pause and come back to me. So, what happened? Did your mind kind of go blank? Or were you just thinking about the tapping of the fingers and no other thoughts came into your mind? What's the reason for that? The reason why other thoughts don't come into your mind is because your mind can only think of one thing at a time. Try to think of two thoughts right now, you won't be able to do it. You can only think of one thing at a time. Okay, there are other ways that you can focus your mind into something that's more positive, especially when your mind is tense. You can focus on something that's music, maybe, on a sound, perhaps a picture, or other things that will make your mind more, or things that are more pleasant, that'll make your mind more calm. The last thing I want to talk about today is the mantra. The mantra sounds like something that you do if you're only having some type of spiritual experience. But the truth is, a mantra is simply a word or a phrase that you repeat to yourself over and over and over again in order to get your mind to stop, in order to get your mind more passive. Now remember, in order for us to be passive, we still have to focus the mind on something. So I'm going to introduce a new idea for today. Even though you're getting passive with your mental relaxation, you're still doing something active. You're still focusing your mind on something. That's something active, and you're becoming passive because you're thinking less and less. Okay, so if you would have the patience for it, you would repeat a word over and over and over again in order for your mind to calm down. Or you repeat some type of phrase. Now let me give you something interesting. I do improvisational theater, which is a lot of fun. And one time, in one of the classes, we did something called the mantra exercise or the mantra scene. And that simply was, you pick a phrase in your mind and you repeat it to yourself as you're going through the scene. So the scene could be anything, practically. You know, in improvisational theater, if you've ever had any exposure to it, anything can really happen. And since it's all improvised, it goes in any direction. What stays constant is the fact that I, or the player in the scene, is repeating the same phrase to themselves silently. What this does is it directs your mind. So if you have a difficulty in relaxation, if you're telling yourself, it's easy for me to relax, it's easy for me to relax, Maybe in a slow tone, doesn't have to be quick, just something that's comfortable for you. It can help you with your relaxation. Now, let me introduce something else. Remember we talked about negative birthing stories, and whenever one of your friends wants to share their story with you, it can cause havoc in your mind because you think about your own birth. Well, when you repeat the phrase, this is her birth, not my birth, this is her birth, not my birth, it will actually block that either negative energy, or it will block that person's story from getting into your subconscious mind. That's what we want to prevent. We want to prevent you from thinking that your birth has to be as bad as somebody else's birth. Okay? So use the mantra exercise, or practice it for yourself as far as relaxation is concerned. It's easy for me to relax, or you can use any phrase that you like. Repeat it over and over again and see what that does. Well, we've reached the end of our third session. Great session. I understand some of the concepts may be new for you, but just try them and enjoy them. Remember, this week we talked about the importance of mental relaxation, which you already know and need to continue having in mind. We talked about mental passivity and how the contradiction works. We try to get the mind passive, and the more you try, the more difficult it becomes. So become passive, not by trying, but by giving up any type of control or trying so hard. Focus on something that's positive. Focus on something that's going to bring you enjoyment to think of. And we also talked about the mantra. Enjoy the mantra exercise. I think it's going to be interesting. One more thing about the mantra exercise is, when we were doing that mantra exercise in the improvisational scenes, it gives you a certain feeling when you repeat something to yourself. We really experience that. Every single player experienced the same thing. So you can take this mantra exercise, and throughout the week, think to yourself a certain phrase and see if it changes your mood or your state of being, your emotional state of being especially. We want to get any feeling that's negative from birthing and bring it up to a positive. Okay? Next time, we're going to be talking about 8 points to help you in working with your own subconscious mind. Until then, have a great week.